Hello, Blue Jay fans. I'm Brock Turnbaugh, class of 2018, alongside my co-host, two-time national champion and All-American Jesse Schwartzman, class of 2007. Lacrosse season is underway, which means it is time for season 2, episode 2 of the We Want More Vodcast.
Winds up, big scores another one for Hopkins.
The test was just called it right, and they're shot to goal right out front. The Blue Jays
does not wear a brace. Never has shown any adverse effects. Harrison with it. Big shot. Scores! Kyle Harrison goes high. That's it. It's over. Johns Hopkins has won its ninth national championship.
We'll just get right into it, but 3 games in 8 days to start the season, two on the road and 1 at home, all against top 20 teams. Coming out of there, whether it was kind of good, bad, pretty, ugly, coming out of 3-0 has got to be encouraging. Take us back to why don't you take us back to Denver and talk about the opening to the season?
Sure. Yeah, I would definitely say at this point, finishing all these 3 of those games on the right side of it was a challenge. You knew it was going to be an undertaking, trying to stay focused on one game at a time. But as we're rolling through those things, you starting to learn a lot more about your team. And I think sitting at this point, getting ready for next big contest, having done what we've done so far is giving us a little bit of strength and knowing we can do some challenging things. So. We started off with Denver out west. It's always a tough trip. You got to, travel out there, the altitude. It's a very good team. Their Final Four team last year. And then game 1 of the season. So there's always some unexpecteds. We had a lot of guys making their Blue Jay debut, some young guns, stepping in for the first time playing, first college game. They're a really well-coached team, fundamental as they get. 2 elite offensive coordinators, so you're going to get a handful there. But, I think guys, started to find some rhythm in the second half, scored a few more. We settled in defensively and some of the face-offs that maybe weren't going our way early, started to go our direction in the second half. And I was really proud of the way you guys finished that one. Certainly after last year was a tough loss to take, but finishing this time around, it was a good way to start the season.
Yeah, and kind of to hit on that point, we lose a lot of guys last year to graduation, and there is obviously some veteran leadership. But talk a little bit about the younger guys kind of stepping up that day. We obviously had the veterans of Collison and Melendez, and I mean Chauvette's only a sophomore, but I almost consider him a veteran now because of the amount he's played and his production through his career. But there was balanced production that day. But talk about some of the younger guys, kind of the Eric Chicks and the Chuck Rawsons, who have been kind of pushed into a starting role or an advanced role, and how they're producing so far and coming along.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of the guys, even if you just use that reference you made, an advanced role on the offensive side. Russell and Matt Collison returning from last year, but almost everybody else has an advanced role. In that, the guys that you haven't seen before, Eric Chick, Chuck Rawson, Sean Krogan, there's a few of those guys in the mix. Stu Phillips has played a little bit at times. Hunter Chavette and Jimmy Ayers were second line midfielders, and now those guys are playing a little bit more of a highlighted role. And Brooks, who didn't play last year, although he plays like a veteran, is really just into like his 15th game or something like that at college. And so we have to work out some kinks. We have to find some chemistry with those groups, and going through the fall and then early January, you get some lineup changes, you get guys out for here and there, and so there's always some challenges with that. But I thought the guys did a great job of settling in and trying to find those opportunities that made the most sense to us, capitalizing when we got them, and even still, I think we left a lot of shots out there on the field that we'd like to have back. But you're proud of the young guys. A lot of guys that either played in their first game of the Blue Jay, and it's a big step for them.
Yeah, it's really cool. I mean, 26 guys played that day, and 13 had never stepped on a college field, or especially with a Blue Jay uniform on. So that's got to be good for those guys. And I imagine it was a pretty happy flight home from Denver.
It's definitely better after a win on that flight home for sure.
And then we turn around basically 2 days later, once you get back, and have to kind of travel up Charles Street to Towson, which is they're always well coached. Obviously, they've Nads, who's an alum, and he obviously wants to try and beat us more than anyone. And they're just scrappy, it seems like. So to go over there Tuesday night, not a beautiful spring day in Baltimore, and come away with another win, albeit a close one. Got a little tight there at the end. Talk to us about Towson.
That one starts the second we get into the locker room after the Denver game, and just, turning our attention to, it's Towson week, whether it's 2 or 3 days away or 10 days away, it's Towson week. So, how do we fill that tank back up? How do we get ourselves back on the right side of it, start working on recovery? We did everything we could to get back Saturday after the game, so we didn't have to stay over an extra night out west. So we got home super late on Saturday night, busing back to the Cordish facility at like 1 a.m. And we get to bed, start working on our scout for Towson. Again, another road game, but you hit it. I mean, they're always going to be well coached. They're going to be fired up. Nads is not going to let his team play soft lacrosse. That. And that's what you got. I mean, they're good. They got as good of a midfielder as there is in the country. Really, really tough defense. They play well in the middle field. They win faceoffs. They're not going to be an easy game to play, especially in that scenario. So, we ran out of a little bit of gas in the second half in the fourth quarter there. We didn't finish strong, made some mistakes, some mental ones, some in execution. Probably had the opportunity to make a few more plays and finish a little bit better. But at the end of the day, you're in the locker room at the end of the game, you're 2-0 and watch the film, learn from it. But, then it's Georgetown week. And so you just kind of turn your attention to the next one and see what you need to get the wheels turning.
Coach, you talked about some of the young guys, but I wanted to ask you, can you talk about some of the graduate transfers and new faces that we had coming in and what their presence has been like on the team? So guys like Luke Stout, Colby Wishar, Patrick Hackler, and Jack Mumford, what impact do they provide?
Yeah, I mean, the easiest answer is just to say it's experience and veteran leadership. Whether they're walking in as captains of our team or 4-year starters or not, those guys have played lacrosse for a lot of years. They've got games under their belt. They've got minutes in tough situations, and they do bring a leadership because they take ownership of their position, their responsibilities. You get a real look at what it's like, to see somebody that's played lacrosse for 4 years, coming into a program like this and making an impact on the younger guys. And they found their groove early. They made sure to really reach out and build those relationships and find a strength with the unity that they're working together with. Coach K does a great job because those guys are all on his end of the field. Luke Stout working really closely with Chase, who just went through something like that last year, and having a netminder who's new can be tough, but really finding one with some veteran experience and having one that builds relationships and trust with the defense is going to go miles in games like that. And you can see Luke has settled in and gotten some comfort in the net on Homewood Field and getting used to his spaces and his line mates and things like that. And I think we knew he had some ability, but watching those things develop over the fall and him get more and more comfortable as weeks went on. Colby was another one that we didn't really know where he'd play because he played long stick, short stick, up top, down low in the past, and he seemed to have settled in really well to a close spot. So we'll see. Everything's week to week, but he's doing a great job there right now. Real proud of him. And then the two guys from the Ivy League have really given us a punch of experience in that short stick midfield, which is, I don't think you can overvalue that at any time. Like the experience in the clears, the experience with different offensive sets and situations and personnel, and they played certain teams that we haven't in the past, and so they just got a ton of experience, and that's really been monumental for us in the clears. I think above all else, like you give it a group of experienced short sticks reps at those clears, they just have a handle on it.
Yeah, and to tack onto the clearing, not to be too statistical, but we're clearing it at 92%, which is a good clip right now. I think it's kind of, I don't know, 5th or 6th in the country. How is that affecting us in the kind of substitution game, being able to win some of those kind of battles between us trying to keep guys on, get guys off, and win those battles at the midfield for an advantage for us?
I mean, there's a ton of it. You guys probably can pick up on some of that with, you guys have veteran eyes, so you're seeing those things. But Coach K is running the clears, and he's taken over substitution from a strategic standpoint. And so, our guys are watching substitution film on a regular basis and mapping out like different ways to get guys trapped on the field, how to be more effective in our clears, how to hook, a guy and get out the front door quicker. It's given us some scenarios where we had offensive midfielders stuck. It's given us some where we can get an odd man advantage coming over the midline, or a 10-yard, 10-yard advantage in a substitution. So we get a quick, bingo, we call it. Like little things like that they're generating opportunities, and they're adding challenges for a defense to prepare for and contend with. And, it's helping us, build an overall value of our scoring potential. I mean, we still need to work to be a more productive team at half field offense, but when we can get opportunities from multiple different resources, we can get, we haven't had many man ups yet, but we at some point get those. We've had some really crucial ride backs, but clearing transition substitution goals are massive when you can get those advantages.
Yeah, and to kind of keep a strong offensive midfielder on the field for 8-10 minutes to play defense. Little thing now in February with it 30 degrees outside, but in May when it's 80-90 degrees outside, to have someone have to play that much defense, doesn't want to be back there. That's going to affect their offense and their mindset too. So keep it up in that aspect.
Everybody seems to do it a little bit differently. I think Townsend was dropping into his zone when they get nobody stuck. Some people just try and sub them off early or have them play that, man-to-man set. But if you can get, like you said, their top midfielder or one of their top six stuck on the field, it'll, maybe he's not out there for the next O shift, and, it'll wear down. I even think it's impactful as much this early, because most teams are, how deep can you go with experienced guys at this point? You get to the end of the season, you're going to play your guys. But right now, every opportunity we can build some experience with that stuff, I think is going to help us going forward.
Absolutely, Coach. So, yeah, we leave Tuesday night 2-0. Hard-fought game, had to turn around and play another top 20 team, the third within 8 days. What was that like in preparation for Georgetown? What were some concerns that we had maybe going into that weekend?
Some similar concerns to the first two is that, you gotta get your team ready to play physically. You got to get, recovery. You got to get sleep. You can't grind them down. We had to take Wednesday off the field after Towson. We just, we needed physically the break there. But you gotta build it up mentally. Like, you gotta fill the tank there, and you gotta get yourselves in a mindset that you're gonna be fresh come Saturday. And if you win that mental battle first, you're going against the team who is thinking they have an advantage, and finding a way to make that your personal advantage before you guys get to the game, I think is a huge strategic element for our team to come out of the locker room and play fast and don't let themselves feel like they wear down. And I think they incorporate that into their prep, into their game plan. And I think that was what you saw executing in the second half of that game on Saturday. Is our guys just, they would not allow themselves to relinquish a step and feel like they were slowing down. And I was really proud of it. It was not an easy week, and to add the travel in there and the quality of teams, not just 3 teams, but 3 really good teams, some different teams and different schematics. Defenses are prepping for, everything you can possibly see offensively in a matter of a week. And, the goalie is seeing a million different shots from different angles and releases and all that kind of stuff. I mean, just, really, really, proud of those guys for sticking to game plans, staying on script with the group as a whole, staying energetic, sideline stayed, really excited and energetic, and just pushing energy onto the field the whole way through Saturday. Like, I said this in midweek, coming out of that 2-0 by the midweek and prepping for the third game, like, that's good. That's a great start. I never would have told them this beforehand, but, looking at the beginning of the schedule before we got into it, like, coming out 3-0, that'll start to give us some understanding of who we actually are, if we could pull that off. And I was really proud of the fashion that they did that. And, at this point it's behind us, but I think it was a strength building, experience when we were in the locker room after that.
Totally. And I think Brock and I both are a little biased towards the defense here as former netminders, and also with Coach K being at the helm. But for the Blue Jays to hold Georgetown 3 separate times to no goals in 15 plus minute stretches.
Mm-hmm.
What does that say about kind of what Coach K is doing on the back end, and also with the mix of young guys at the rope unit and throwing guys in all over the field? I felt just as a spectator, we were getting more guys involved at the defensive midfield. I don't know if that was keeping guys fresh, keeping the other team on their toes, but talk a little bit about that and kind of how the defense holding their end of the bargain helps out with the other end.
I mean, if you've got any opponent at 4 goals with 3 minutes left in the game, I mean, you're going to feel pretty good about what kind of offense you're producing. I mean, nothing is going to be acceptable except our very best. But it takes a lot of the stress off of the defense or off the offense when the other team is not getting a whole lot of good looks. And there's a stretch there in the third quarter where we turned the ball over 3 out of 4 possessions in a pretty quick fashion. And this is my notes to the offensive group yesterday. Like, we're privileged to play with a group on the other side of the field that's really, has the ability at that end of that could have really cost us. If we were neck and neck, that game was a 1-goal game. Like those 4 possessions in a row might have cost us. And, luckily they didn't, but we can't let that give us any sort of complacency. Like we got to dig in harder in those situations. We got to play a little bit absent of the score and just execute one play after the next and take advantage of those. But to speak more on the defensive end, I mean, anytime you have a first-team All-American on that end of the field, it's going to give you a little bit more of a confidence in what you're able to do. He can match up with a lot of guys. Scotty Smith is as good as it gets. The depth of that group, Coach K goes deep. It always has, but he plays 5-6 short sticks on a regular basis. We're playing 3-4 close guys, 3 long stick midfielders. Like that's a healthy dose for the early part of the season to get guys ready to execute at a high level. I think Jameson is one of the very best defensive coaches I've ever seen. I think he's a fantastic representation of the type of guys we want here and the type of defense we want to play here. He is as thorough and detailed as anybody I've ever met in preparation, and you're seeing it in the consistency of our productivity year after year. Last year I thought we were one of the best defenses. We graduated a ton of guys, and we seem like we're right in the hunt for that again. And I'm just I'm continually impressed. So much so that he shows up and he's like, I got ideas on how we can take advantage of the substitution game and get more offensive opportunities. I'm like, great, let's see it. I mean, he's always pushing the envelope. He's always thorough, and guys follow him, and he demands that.
Do you think the veganism has something to do with that?
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I've seen him in the chicken egg before, so I don't know how long that's going to last. But he's pretty strict on the diet too. It's wild.
Coach, switching gears to the offense, Brooks English has 1 goal and 3 assists for the second game in a row. You have Matt Collison that opens up the scoring for us, scoring from beyond midfield, and then Chauvet does what Chauvet does. What's been the message to the offense and how they've been continuing to perform?
We're a work in progress. I mean, you always are, but I think we're really just still scratching the surface of where we're beginning to play good lacrosse. I don't think we've really hit a rhythm yet where we feel like we're firing on all cylinders. I think we're still sorting things out. I think we're still getting comfortable with the lineups and the personnel, but it absolutely needs to be crucial to the core selfless mentality when you go in on offense. Nobody's going out there looking to get theirs. Nobody's just trying to make something happen. We run the offense. We look for one more opportunities. We find we find breakdowns in defenses, and we make them work as hard as we can to defend us. And the more we continue to get comfortable with that rhythm, and the more we can continue to get comfortable with each other, some of those opportunities will start to compound on each other, and we find a little bit more. I mean, the example just this past week, we went into halftime with 6 goals. We'd only taken 11 shots. I think that really speaks to a discipline in the way we're playing. It's not that we couldn't get more than 11 shots off. I think they were really trying to be mindful of not taking poor shots, not letting the goalie get a chance to see the ball, not getting him a chance to get hit by it, so that he comes out of the locker room at halftime really not having much of a feel for the game other than to dig it out. And that was, I think, a big part of, their development and understanding as an offense that, we can get what we need, but we might have to work for it. If we have to take what we get in front of us, then we can settle for that, but we just try as hard as we can not to settle. And so, we're on our way to that. I think we're still building, we're still getting better. Guys like Brooks are crucial, and Hunter and Collie, obviously all those guys, but it's just everybody buying in, so it could be anybody's day.
Has the philosophy on offense changed a bit with graduating Angelus and kind of having that, although not a tall player, but kind of that alpha dog dodging from X, with him gone and all the kind of the shifty kind of middies up top, with the exception of Collie, obviously at 6'4", has the philosophy changed on where the offense should be initiating from, or the type of offense that we should kind of come to expect here?
I think it will have a bit to do with some personnel. I don't think you can expect to, have the same type of a scenario, same type of environment when, Angelus, who had the ball a large portion of the game, and he was accounted for like 90% of our assists last year, and Garrett, who was, such an impact on that side with his shots. Obviously, Hunter and Matt, like, they're not going to leave that left side wide open. They make sure that they fill it as much as possible. But yeah, I mean, it's hard to replace a guy like Angel. I think the reality is, Coach Crawley did such a good job here with the offense for a couple of years. He moves on, gets a head job, and so it's just a transition in system and philosophy at times, and some tweaks to what we see and the way we see things and how it's working. So I don't know if it's as much of a personnel driven adjustment as it is a philosophical. I think it's just a matter of time to let things materialize the way that the group is best making them happen. If all of a sudden somebody emerges as a dynamo threat in a certain spot, like, there'll be a little gravitational pull that we're going to start to run a little bit more, out of that spot. And if we get, a whole line of guys who are, running by their guys, or, we pull somebody up off the scout offense because he just overpowered people running through them, we find a way to work that in. And, Colley's one of the few guys that has the size right now, but hopefully we're able to generate some motion and some slides and work on beating recoveries is one of the key points of it.
Yeah, I think the ball is certainly moving well, and keeping defenses on their toes and not really dying in anyone's stick right now, which is certainly a good thing and hard to game plan against. So kind of to shifting gears, second game in a week or so against the hometown rival. This time we're heading up kind of Roland Avenue to Ridley. Always a tough place to play. Loyola's coming in, probably the best 0-2 team that we'll see, with 2 tight losses to Georgetown and then an overtime to Maryland last week. So just kind of 30,000 feet overview. What's your thoughts on the Greyhounds and what we'll need to do to get a W there?
Another one of those, always a great team, really well coached, have a ton of respect for the guys that are there, year in and year out. They're competitive. I mean, they just played Maryland to an overtime game a few days ago, and Maryland was in the national championship last year. So they have the ability to be as scary as anybody. This is jokingly, welcome to another rivalry week. It just seems to happen every week when you're a Blue Jay, because it's another big game with a team that's got a lot of history with you. I think the key element and one of the main points on the game keys going into this going through the scout is that we have to be the hungrier bunch, and I think that's an easy one to say in every game, but the reality is this is a team that's 0-2 and really has a thirst for a win. I think they definitely are looking at us like we're ripe for the picking. We're 3-0 and maybe feel like we're pretty awesome because we just won the couple big games and then against somebody that beat them. So for starters, we have to use that as fuel for the fire in our preparations. That this is a team that thinks that you're beatable, you're ready to go. This is their opportunity. They need to they're on the incline and we're just sitting up there as fat cats, Coach K likes to call them. So make sure we stay disciplined, make sure we stay focused, and we got to be the hungry bunch before we get on the bus, because that's as we were joking about before this started, like, that is a difficult place to play. They got a rowdy crowd. They bust in the students. They're right behind your bench. They're going after you. Like, that is a home field advantage. And another one that we haven't dug into enough yet with the guys, but it's been hinted at, and we'll reference it a bit more. But we've only won at Ridley one time since 2005. And that was, I think, one of Jameson's years as an assistant coach. And so that's a pretty healthy stretch to not come out on the right side of it at a rival's home field. So we really need to be dialed in this regard and ready to battle, because the team's going to be coming after us.
It'll be a fun one to watch, Coach. We're really looking forward to it.
Good, same here.
Hey, just one. I know we were talking a lot about kind of the defense and specifics and some guys on the offensive end. Talk a little bit about Logan Callahan and what he's kind of meant to the team so far through 3 games.
Logan it's funny to say it now, as a salty veteran. You guys, it seems like the 4 years go by so quick, and he was one of the, the first recruits that Coach K, brought to my table when we started working together. And he's like, I heard of this kid, I've seen him, I want to, talk more about him, blah, blah, blah. And, we get him on campus, and he seems like he's really grown and developed. He's, been a handful for his opponents in a lot of different ways, a lot of different times. But I think right now he's settled into kind of being our leader in that regard. I think he's one of the tougher guys that I've coached at that position. He is a strength and a composure in the way he goes about it. I wouldn't call him the quickest, fleetest of foot that there are, but he's strong with the ball, and he doesn't take too many chances with it. He finds a way to get that thing off the ground for us. And, I think in the past we've had a few guys in the mix there that we were always kind of rotating through. And I think at this point, we've found some strength in Logan that, if he's not really hitting the whistle early on, or if he's not really finding the success he needs, if we just, stay with him enough and trust him. I mean, his overall winning percentage is 60%, but I think in the second half it's like 80. So, he seems to be gaining some ground as the game goes on and figuring his opponent out, which I think is a really strong attribute for a faceoff guy. I also just thinking in this, opportunity to have you guys in here. I know this is the start of a new season and doing this, but wanted to make sure that we're bringing everybody into the mix here and getting to know you guys a little bit better. Obviously, as alums, there should be a healthy awareness of who the two of you are, having played such big minutes for the Blue Jays and been such great supportive members of our alumni base. But wanted to be able to just spotlight a little bit more what you guys are up to and how that's going, and see if we can get the viewers a little more comfortable about what we're doing right now. So, Brock, if you're on campus now, your office is just across the way over there. I get to see you a few times a week, and our guys get to work with you a little bit closer than most. And so want to give a chance for you to maybe just give an update to the folks out there, like what you're doing, your involvement with the program and at Johns Hopkins now.
Absolutely. Yeah. So after my time here at Hopkins, went and got my master's degree, did a couple of years in outpatient mental health as a licensed clinician. Since then, I've worked my way back into athletics. As you mentioned, Coach, I'm back here on campus as assistant director for student athlete mental health and performance. So get the pleasure of seeing the guys every day, seeing them out of practice, see them putting in the work, and then also getting to work with all 24 of our varsity teams here at Johns Hopkins. And a lot of my job consists of working with our athletes and helping them really strengthen their mental health and their mental performance. A lot of times our athletes kind of forget that, as much as the physical preparation goes into being great at what you do, there's a lot of mental preparation. So that's kind of where my job comes in. Coming up on my second year here, it's been a blast. It's been a pleasure to work with you and your staff, as well as all of our coaches, and just really excited to see what the future holds for me here.
Awesome. I mean, I can speak from my personal perspective. I think it's just so admirable from a departmental standpoint that we would, prioritize this, that we would, work to find somebody that we could bring in and that would be able to work with our athletes. We're keeping you connected with our guys all the time and making sure that they have that availability and that resource and feel the support there. If you have the ability to just go a little bit deeper, like how did you get into this and from an interest standpoint? Like, is it a background? I mean, I know you obviously have a background as a player, as an athlete. You have a passion for Johns Hopkins, but how did you end up down this road and ending up working here with us?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of it stems from my experience as a college athlete and being here at Hopkins. And as Jesse can attest. There's something different about Hopkins. Just the academic rigor, the course load that our athletes go through on a day in and day out basis. It really kind of tests you. And so through the academics and having to, having to perform at a high level in your athletic side, it can really mess with athletes. And so I had a similar experience, had a lot of ups and downs, kind of a roller coaster of a career. That really led me to figure out, like, there's got to be some type of niche here where we can work with our athletes and give them the resources. So that really struck the passion that I have for being a resource for our athletes. So yeah, after graduating, did my master's, worked my way back here, and really trying to work with ending the stigma around mental health and mental performance with our athletes. Like I said, it's really kind of a misconception that athletes don't need to put in the time to do the mental work, and I'm here to kind of change that mentality, work with all of our teams, and really kind of strengthen that side of them.
I love that. And just again, from our perspective, like if our guys just even have an understanding that it's more about sport performance, if they want to look at it through that lens, like your health and your general well-being is massive, but if you have a hard time even figuring out how to view it, like you need to be in the right mindset to be able to perform. So what kind of support, what kind of services would you employ? I mean, we got guys going to yoga for this and a foot specialist for that, this and that. So like just I think it's great that the emphasis has been placed on that around here, and that it's helping build like you said, a healthier environment for all athletes, but certainly here. So I thank you and I applaud you for that. So Jesse, from your perspective, like you graduate from Hopkins, you go into professional lacrosse, international lacrosse, you have a really prolific playing career, and transition. I don't know everything that you've been up to other than starting a professional podcasting career here. What's been serving as the interim, and just give you guys an update on what you've been up to.
Yeah, so first off, thank you, and huge shoes to follow here from the daddy of the 89ers, Patrick Russell, who did such an awesome job, and has always done a great job of just bringing the whole community back together, because it really is unless you're in it and you're part of it, you can't truly understand the depth of the family that is Hopkins lacrosse. So I know Brock and I are just so kind of blessed, as they say, to be on this podcast and Vodcast, and give the alum a little sneak peek into your world and the world of the current Blue Jays. But so I finished my playing career in 2007, played professionally for the Denver Outlaws and for USA for 9 years, or for 10 years, and all that while I was working in medical sales. So I would kind of be in the operating room Monday through Thursday, Friday morning, fly out to wherever we were playing, practice, play, fly home Sunday, and rinse and repeat. That got a little stale, as you can imagine, and just being in the operating room was not the most pleasant places of all. Learned a lot and saw some things that most people won't ever get the chance to see, which was pretty cool. But I was basically living a real life Nat Geo show. So very neat, learned a lot, met some great people. And for the past 9 years, I've been working in the commercial real estate world, which has given me an opportunity to really leverage my Hopkins network and be able to kind of do business, not just in Baltimore, where obviously Hopkins is located, but use the Hopkins lacrosse network and the university network in general, and pitch business in Atlanta, in Dallas, in Connecticut. Actually recently just did a deal in the UK based off of a doctor who I'd gotten to know here, who has a master's from Hopkins, connected the dots, and it's been a pleasure for me. And just being able to not sit behind a desk all day and crunch numbers. There's definitely some numbers crunching involved, but being able to get out and help occupiers of real estate with their kind of needs has been really fun for me.
That's awesome. And while we're on that, because this is something that, when we talk to our even recruits, but, as guys get to campus, we have a, mentorship program, connecting them with alums and getting into different industries. We got a whole segment of guys that look at it at real estate as a possibility and whatnot. What would you say from an athletic standpoint as a lacrosse player, or from a Hopkins standpoint as a student athlete? Would you say has benefited your experience to bring on some of these opportunities, or where you find some strengths as a professional that comes from your successful background as an athlete?
Yeah, no, it's great. I've spoken to Kali and Jackson Raposo, who just got into the business and is working up in Ottawa, and Dylan Bauer about the real estate world. But I mean, it's not a lot different than being on the team. So you're on a team. There is a pecking order, but the sum of the parts is greater than the individual. And I found that from youth ball to college, professionally, being able to collaborate. And I mean, today it's a snowy day, and I work on a team of about 8 people. There's 3 of us in the office today. We're the only 3 here, and we're just bouncing ideas. And if you're not kind of collaborating with your teammates, whether it's on the field, off the field, that's when you pick up a lot of things. So whether it's game planning for Loyola or chasing a large tenant, I think just being a teammate first, and being able to listen is really important.
Yeah, that's a great insight, and I think something that maybe the guys can miss at times as young student athletes, but realizing that the work that they're putting in here on a regular basis and the collaboration, like, that's going to pay off long term, not just because of the strength you build as an athlete, but you're understanding how to work with people and find success through challenging environments, things like that. You mentioned Big Daddy a minute ago, and I wanted to double down on your shout out. He's the man. He did an outstanding job here this last year. He's unable to continue on with this, and his daughter's now in college and dominating. That he's out watching her, but we just had a smoker this past weekend, and it's just an awesome time to see some alums and share some laughs and get guys back to campus and celebrate some traditions, things like that. Just wanted to throw it out to you guys one more. Maybe Brock, you go first. Like, any favorite lacrosse or favorite Hopkins memory, tradition, experience, anything that jumps out at you?
Yeah, I mean, the smoker's always a good time. Especially for young guys, really kind of experiencing the impact that Hopkins lacrosse has on you, to the extent where guys graduated 30, 40, 50 years ago and are still coming back and are still involved in the program. And I think that's something that's really powerful to me. And part of the reason why, I'm here, I want to give back and I want to be a part of the program as much as I can and help the guys out, because that's what it means to me. Smoker's always a good one. I'd say probably a favorite memory would have to be winning the Big Ten championship my senior year. Go out, beat Ohio State 6-5 in a tough battle, and turn around having to play Maryland again, beating them 13-10 and walking away Big Ten champs is always a pleasure.
Yeah, that's awesome. Probably from you two, a 6-5 game sounds really exciting to you two. It's not, as an offensive coach, my favorite version, but we'll take a win.
Exactly.
What about you, Jeff?
Well, I'd say that the smoker was awesome, and here listening to when the coach calls up the freshman to give the speech, that's always my favorite part. It's great to hear kind of what a senior has to say, and obviously they have experience in 4 or 5, sometimes now even 6 years being in a program. But for a young guy who's 17, 18 years old to get up there in front of his teammates, and all the alum, young guys, old guys, it's awesome. And I thought this year, Brogues did a tremendous job. I mean, the energy was just radiating off that guy, and he must be a joy to be in the locker room. But I mean, just there's obviously the memories of winning are up there, and they're all etched in history and in the top of the memory book. 2 championships and winning your last game as a senior in the national championship in your hometown. I don't know if anything could beat that. But I mean, just to this day, I was talking to classmates this morning. I mean, we graduated 17 years ago, and the group chat is firing. I rate it face off every week, and I think that's the best part of it, and it really epitomizes the family of Johns Hopkins lacrosse.
Yeah, that sounds awesome. I know there's been watch parties that pop up at different places, and to hear those and to get some of those, videos sent, or the messages from, guys getting together in New York or different places, and just, kind of chopping it up with this and celebrating together, just watching the boys and having everybody back was awesome. The freshman speech, Sean Krogan, really, really blew me away. Did an awesome job. Braxton Bowler, the senior speech, but it's always a joy. You're right to see the freshmen get up there and just step right into the spotlight. I mean, it's a nerve-wracking place to be, a room full of alums, the whole team, and you're giving an impromptu speech that you don't know is coming, and to hit a home run there is really cool. So appreciate you recognizing that, and that we don't unfortunately have any more 60ers. Garrett Dignam would go down as the statue of that position, but always great to have the guys back on campus, the alums around supporting the team. It gives us a great boost and great energy. I think that was definitely felt going into the Georgetown game there.
Definitely. All right. Well, we're wrapping up here, but we just want to ask you a couple kind of fun questions about the guys, and then we can let you on your way. I know you have a busy week of preparation here.
Sure.
So, who's controlling the stereo this season thus far?
Alec Billings has been doing a great job. 50 is a kid that's had some tough stretch injury wise and hasn't had a chance to suit up as much as he deserves. But he is officially assistant coach Billings, or assistant coach Fitty. Is much by the kid, most dialed in teammate, most committed, passionate. I mean, he is all volume all day, and he really deserves it. But he jumps on the aux every opportunity, and I think he does a great job with it. Mixes it up a little bit.
Yeah, I was gonna say, do you even know what the young kids are playing these days? Because
No.
I sure as heck don't.
I'll share with you guys. This is one of the fun ones. Is that they'll play like classic rock here and there, and it's whoever's out there and puts it on the speaker, and I will just turn to the team while they're stretching or whatever, and quiz them like, all right, guys, who's this band? And I will get AC/DC as the answer every single time because they don't know what the answer is, and AC/DC is one of the only bands they know, so they just unless they know the song, which is rare, they go AC/DC.
AC/DC.
No, it's not AC/DC.
That's funny.
Pretty good.
One more question for you, Coach, and we'll let you go. Guy on the team most likely to be president?
That's a good one. I mean, Chase is on staff now. Otherwise, I pointed him. I'll give you this one. I'll say Trip Didden is a possibility. Stu Phillips, even though he's Canadian, I don't think he can be. I don't think he'd be president, but he might be prime minister.
Prime minister.
Yeah. I'm gonna give it. This is out of the blue. This is a freshman, Liam Burke. He's a freshman. Shout out for you. So you guys probably don't know him as well, but he may be in the running already. I don't know. It's probably already starting to build a case.
You know what? Poli-sci major at Hopkins, great place to start. Speaking from experience there,
I'm sure. Yeah.
All right, great. Well, Coach. Yep. Hey, thank you so much for your time. Good luck this weekend up at Loyola, and we look forward to catching up next week.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate you doing this. Looking forward to it next week. Go Jays.
Just a quick plug, but just a reminder to everyone where we can be watched and seen on Spotify, Apple Music, wherever you get your podcasts, or on YouTube.com at the Hopkins Men's Lacrosse page.